Professional sports are an integral aspect of modern society, an industry with historical impact, opportunities for commerce, and a way to escape the nuances of everyday life. We the people view athletes as icons, inspirations, and role models. However, these players put themselves at risk every day they walk into work, constantly traveling, playing games sometimes 3 times a week, and most of all, physical injuries. Among these injuries, one stands out as a unique yet highly controversial instance: concussions. Kimberly Harmon states in the Clinical Journal of Sports Medicine, concussions occur in all sports, with the highest incidence in football, hockey, rugby, soccer, and basketball. It is estimated that as many as 3.8 million concussions occur in the USA per year during competitive sports and recreational activities. However, as many as 50% of the concussions may go unreported. So what exactly is a concussion? Merriam-Webster's dictionary describes a concussion as a stunning, damaging, or shattering effect from a hard blow. When talking about the human body, Merriam-Webster's dictionary adds to the definition that it is a jarring injury of the brain resulting in disturbance of cerebral function. The most important factor in diagnosing this complicated injury involves the subject or player being symptomatic.
Concussions, when I started in 1995. Concussions used to be if you had a dinger or you got your bell rung, meaning there was a lapse of time, you may have blacked out. Now it has become a very general term. Any symptom you have after getting hit in the head is considered a concussion. People say to me all the time, is this a concussion symptom? I say yes. Whether it be headache, malaise, tired, fatigue, vomiting, nausea, you name it, it's a concussion symptom.
Dr. Schwartz is currently the head of Massapequa Sports Medicine for Massapequa Schools and is the team physical therapist for Malloy College, LIU Post, and Farmingdale State College. Diagnosis and treatment methods are effective in Dr. Schwartz's office, but what is it like to actually suffer from a concussion? According to the National Federation of State High School Associations, symptoms that have been reported by players have included headache, nausea, balance problems or dizziness, double or fuzzy vision, sensitivity to light or noise, feeling sluggish, feeling foggy or groggy, concentration or memory problems, and confusion. Former professional ice hockey star Jeremy Roenick sustained concussions during his 20 seasons playing in the NHL.
When I first started in '88, there was no fear for the brain. We would get concussed, we would get knocked out, and we'd get smelling salts, and they'd send us right back out. I remember in 1989, I got knocked out by Jim Johnson in Minnesota. Knocked out so cold that I woke up 15, 20 minutes later in the locker room and had no idea how I got into the locker room, and they said I actually went in there under my own power, and I didn't even remember it. And I ended up playing the next day again against Minnesota back in Chicago. Scored a hat trick, by the way, but they never put any kind of emphasis on the science of what happens when you get a concussion.
I've had several concussions playing ice hockey and lacrosse. My 2 episodes were actually complete blackout episodes, so there wasn't a question. It was a hit where I didn't know where I was for a few seconds. And luckily I didn't have any residual effects, though, to where it lingered later in my life. I have no problems now.
Dr. Schwartz is no stranger to injuries. However, according to the Clinical Journal of Sports Medicine, there are over 3 million concussions a year caused by an incident during a competitive sport or a recreational activity. So how do the professionals deal with these instances? Former New York Jets wide receiver Al Toon suffered several concussions throughout his career. Toon played 107 games where he had 517 receptions for a total of 6,605 career yards and 31 touchdowns.
Al was, at the time, in the mid-80s, the premier receiver. Unfortunately, with him playing with the Jets and the Jets not being a great team, he didn't get the publicity like Jerry Rice. Jerry was the guy who was in San Francisco, and everybody talked about San Francisco. As you just mentioned, Al's numbers were better than Jerry's, early on, and even on a bad team. Don't get me wrong, because Al and Wesley, those are two guys that actually, put up numbers themselves. Wesley towards the end of his career when Al was coming in. So, but Al was that guy. He was a big receiver. Me personally, I'm a guy who actually looked up to him, being a local guy, getting to watch him every week, and then becoming one of his teammates.
It was the 6th concussion he sustained against the Denver Broncos on November 8th, 1992, that ended his career.
I was actually slated to go in the next play, and it happened right in front of me. And it was one of those things where it seemed just like a normal play. He made a catch, he turned upfield, he got tackled. It wasn't a big hit, it was just a normal tackle. One guy around his legs and one guy around his waist. He goes down, and he didn't get up.
Have you ever had a concussion?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they weren't really super diagnosed back when I played in the 80s and early 90s. But, I've had the double vision and headaches and things like that. Been knocked silly a couple times. But it was kind of hard to, nobody sat down and really said you have a concussion. I mean, they just didn't know enough about it back then.
Brian Baldinger was a professional offensive lineman for the Philadelphia Eagles, Dallas Cowboys, and Indianapolis Colts. Playing for 11 seasons, he is notoriously remembered for having a mutilated right pinky finger after it got caught in Hall of Famer Randy White's face mask. He, along with his brother Gary, are no strangers to facing injuries.
Well, in 1987, I was playing the San Diego Chargers in San Diego. I was on the Kansas City Chiefs. I was on the kickoff team, running down the field, got blindsided, knocked out, had no idea where I was, had to be taken off the field. And the only medical management at that time was for my tailbone. Actually, I had fractured my tailbone. So they didn't even address the concussion part of what happened to me.
Gary Baldinger, who played 6 seasons in the NFL, was a defensive lineman for the Kansas City Chiefs, Indianapolis Colts, and the Buffalo Bills. Gary touched on an aspect of the game that has to be emphasized.
I think the way they approach hits with leading with your shoulder first, not just in the pros, but along all walks or all ages of football is going to be vitally important as well.
Even former Philadelphia Eagles linebacker Michael Reichenbach agrees that the technique of tackling must be taught differently.
I see a lot of the techniques of the guys that are learning now where they're not leading with their face mask, they're dropping their head and hitting with the crown of their head. That's dangerous. We've heard techniques where they're told to grab and pull the guy down. So a lot of different techniques, a lot of more gap football where we see linebackers filling gaps instead of taking on bodies. So game's changed, and they're trying to use the athleticism more than the brunt force.
Concussions are a very dangerous injury to sustain, especially if sustained multiple times. The repeated concussions can lead to CTE, or chronic traumatic encephalopathy. Concussion Legacy Foundation defines CTE as a degenerative brain disease found in athletes, military veterans, and others with a history of repetitive brain trauma. Fortunately, sports organizations and programs have been educated on this dangerous disease and have taken steps to make sports safer.
There's but so much that they can do. I mean, it's inevitable. If you're going to play football or a contact sport, concussions are going to be a part of the game. So NFL is trying to do everything that they can do to mitigate, players sustaining concussions. But it's just a part of the game.
They really didn't diagnose it then. It was more of a dinger or.
Is it a concern of yours?
It's out there. I see you see some symptoms of things, and you kind of wonder, okay. And yeah, you kind of get worried about that because you see the effect of some of these guys going in with the dementia, and that's real life stuff, and it's at an early age, and that's the thing that's scary to that term. But yeah, it's out there, and you have to think about it, and it's something that you have to continually keep getting checked on.
Well, I think it's the most serious thing facing the league at this time. And I think finally it's good to see finally that that the league is actually acknowledging the existence of it.
So what exactly is being done about concussions in sports?
I think they're doing a great job. I think the newest rule, I guess you would say, or policy, the newest policy is to have a viewer from up top who is neutral to both teams. And if they suspect an injury where they saw a head-to-head injury or a head-to-knee injury or a head-to-turf injury, they will call down to another neutral party, whether it be physician or trainer, who will then approach the player and give them a test. You have to give it the time it deserves to become asymptomatic, meaning no symptoms, no headache, no need for a dark room. You become asymptomatic, then you start a 5-day return to play protocol. So if the first day is very minimal movement, then the second day, I believe, is up and down type movement, progressing to a full workout as if you were playing and simulating the sport. If you become symptomatic any time during that return to play protocol, you did not progress to the next level.
I think now, to summarize, football is as safe as it's ever been in regards to specific areas of concussion, and they've done just about everything you possibly can do up this point to make the game as safe as possible. Can you do more? Yes, but I'm very happy about the foundation the NFL set, not just for the NFL players, but I think it's important that it's through youth league, through high school, through college, and through pro. There seems to be a foundation now of safety and thinking about the kids and their long term, as opposed to what it was 30 years ago.
Now there's a science behind it. They've done a lot more research. Now they really take it very seriously. If you get one concussion, one bump to the head where you feel woozy, any kind of symptom, you have to be out for at least a week of any physical exertion from playing in the hockey, in the National Hockey League, which I think is good because these things, you never know what's going to happen with the concussion symptom.
There is no doubt that injuries are inevitable in professional and recreational sports. Each year, more and more is being improved upon to help prevent concussions. Technology and equipment is becoming more advanced. In-game rules are changed to try and deter hits to the head. Protocols are put into place for players that sustain or appear to have sustained a head injury. There is still a lot of work to be done, but overall, sports and sports health are moving in the right direction to help treat and prevent this serious injury.